This is it, the final chapter, a moment where history just pivots on the edge of a sword, where alliances are about to shatter like glass, and the fate of entire empires gets decided not by massive armies, but by an unbreakable will. Okay, let's dive into this incredible turning point.
Everything kicks off with a grudge, and we're not talking about some new squabble. No, this is an ancient wound, passed down through generations, just festering in the heart of a warrior, waiting for that perfect moment to just erupt.
And erupts it does. A call for revenge just echoes across the land, uniting kings and clans into this single terrifying force. We're talking about an army so huge it feels like the desert itself has come to life and is marching to war.
And here's the real question, right? Because standing against this massive tide of vengeance isn't just one nation, but two. One is a massive empire, the other, a tiny band of warriors. And in that crucial moment of crisis, one is about to abandon the other, setting the stage for a battle that should have been completely impossible to win.
All right, so who is the architect of this whole storm? To really get what's happening, we have to understand the man who lit the fuse. His name is Zepho, and believe me, his memory is long.
So this guy Zepho, he's a descendant of Esau, Jacob's brother. He's just returned from this brutal campaign in Africa, fresh off a victory and absolutely hungry for more. But this isn't just about conquering new lands. For him, it is personal. He carries the sting of his people's humiliation from generations ago, when Joseph and the sons of Jacob defeated them. Now, hearing that Joseph's generation is gone, he sees his chance to settle that old score, once and for all.
Now, a grudge this big can't be settled alone. Zepho knows this. He needs allies, and so he starts putting together one of the biggest coalitions this region has ever seen.
He sends out messengers to every corner of the desert, to Hadad, the king of Edom, reminding him of their shared bloodline through Esau, to the children of the east and the Ishmaelites. And guess what? They all answer the call, united by a common enemy and a promise of sweet, sweet vengeance. Okay, let this sink in. 3 days journey. That's not how far they marched. That's how big their camp was. To walk from one end of it to the other would take you 3 whole days. It's literally an ocean of tents and warriors, a living sea of steel ready to just crash down on Egypt. So as this unstoppable force marches south, you can bet the news is sending shockwaves through Egypt. They're scrambling to put up a defense, but a fatal seed of doubt has already been planted in their minds.
And this right here, this chart just says it all, doesn't it? Egypt manages to pull together a respectable 300,000 soldiers. They send a call for help to their allies, the Israelites over in Goshen, and only 150 men show up. Just look at that contrast. It's not even a rounding error. It's a drop in the ocean. But wow, what an important drop it's about to become.
So here it is, the crucial point, the fatal mistake. Egypt looks at this tiny group of allies and they don't see support. They see a threat. They get paranoid. They start thinking, what if these guys betray us? So by trying to avoid this small perceived risk, they create a much, much bigger one. They sideline their most battle-ready warriors, telling them to just stay back. And that one decision, that single act of mistrust, well, it kicks off a chain reaction that nobody, and I mean nobody, could have seen coming. The battle begins, and the currents of fate start to shift in the most shocking way.
Meanwhile, back in the coalition's camp, Zepho isn't taking any chances. He calls on his super famous seer, a guy named Balaam, to look into the future and just guarantee their victory. He wants that supernatural stamp of approval. But this is exactly where human strategy just smacks right into something much, much bigger. Zepho thinks he can control the outcome, Balaam thinks he can predict it, but a higher power is already at play here. So Balaam tries his rituals, but something's wrong. There's just static. The connection's severed. The divination is a confused mess. He tries again, and it fails again. It's like an unseen hand is just blocking him, preventing him from seeing the future. Because, well, that future is not his to know. It's already been decided.
Out on the battlefield, it is a total disaster. The Egyptians are fighting alone, and they're getting absolutely steamrolled. The coalition is just too strong, too numerous. The Egyptian lines break, and they flee in terror, running straight for the sidelined Israelites, screaming for the very help they had just rejected.
150 men. That's it. That is all that stands between the collapsing Egyptian army and the full, crushing might of the entire coalition. The moment of truth has arrived.
And they don't even hesitate. The Israelites say a quick prayer and then they charge. 150 men against tens of thousands. What happens next is just unbelievable. A supernatural strength surges through them, and this wave of pure confusion and terror just washes over the enemy. The coalition armies, who were literally on the verge of victory just moments before, suddenly break and flee in absolute panic.
So the battle is won, but the story, it isn't over. The fallout from this day is going to reshape the entire region, and it starts with settling a score, not with the enemy, but with an ally.
The numbers from the aftermath are just staggering, and they tell you everything you need to know. Thousands of soldiers from the coalition and Egypt are dead on the field. But for the Israelites, not a single man was lost. Their victory was absolute, and their strength, which was once just dismissed, is now terrifyingly clear to everyone, especially the Egyptians, who now just recoil in fear.
On the road back to Goshen, the Israelites don't forget Egypt's betrayal. They enact this quiet, calculated revenge. When they run into Egyptian soldiers, they pretend to mistake them for the enemy, striking them down for abandoning them. It is a cold, shrewd message. Betrayal has consequences, and the power dynamics have just been completely rewritten.
In the years that follow, the ripples from this one single battle just keep spreading. The balance of power in the whole region has been permanently altered.
You know, kings come and go. Hadad, the guy who fought at Pathros, he dies. His successors, Samlah, Saul, Baal-Hanan, Hadar, they each take the throne of Edom. Their reigns just mark the passage of time. But while the names of the rulers change like the shifting desert sands, one thing now remains constant: the unbroken fear of Israel.
And that's really the ultimate takeaway here. This wasn't just a victory. It was a total transformation. It was a day that turned a small, overlooked tribe into a force that kings and empires would now dread. It just goes to show you that true power isn't always measured in numbers, but in that unwavering conviction that can turn 150 men into an unstoppable force.